This is the morning brief from the Economic Times.
பயணிகளின் கனிவான கவனத்திற்கு வண்டி எண் 12635 சென்னை எழும்பூர்.
இந்த நம்ம மியூசிக் இருக்குல்ல, ஸ்டார்ட் த விசில்ஸ்.
Sundal on Marina Beach, delicious biryanis, Carnatic music concerts in the winter, and cricket fanatics in every gully. There are many things Chennai is known for, but now it is acquiring a brand new title and fast becoming the SaaS or Software as a Service capital of India. This episode is all about Chennai and how the city is becoming a hotspot for tech startups, attracting more investors to pump in funds, and young talent from across the country are moving to Chennai to literally sass up their career. To celebrate the spirit of the city, I invited my colleague and my Chennai buddy, Diya Reiki, to host this episode with me. Hey Diya, hi.
Hey Bhavya, I have to say that this episode is tugging at all my heartstrings, and I should begin with the disclaimer that I'm unabashedly biased towards Chennai. And as we take you through this episode, you will realize that I'm not the only one. We have a lot lined up for you as we spoke to some interesting startup founders, an investor, and a couple of youngsters working in SaaS companies. So stay tuned and find out why Chennai is the hottest place to be all through the year.
You're listening to the Morning Brief, and we are your hosts for today, Bhavya Dilip Kumar and Diya Reiki.
சிங்க நடை போட்டு சிகரத்தில் ஏறு, சிகரத்தை அடைந்தால் வானத்தில் ஏறு.
Hey, who are you, man? Founder and CEO Girish Mathrubootham, and began by asking him about how it felt to make his Wall Street debut. Listen in.
Feels great. I think it's a historic milestone for not just for Freshworks, but also for India SaaS, as Freshworks is the first Indian SaaS company to go public in the US. I think it's all sinking in. I am really excited.
Yeah, this has been the talk of the town since last week, right? You know how the Trichy-born superstar is making wonders, and I already saw big Taleva posters featuring Girish Mathrubootham across the city too.
You know, that's such a Chennai thing to do, right, Bhavya? I mean, posters, these huge garlands, and everything in between. It's such an inherent part of the political and cinematic culture of the state, too. But, you know, this is such a big moment for Freshworks and the larger Indian SaaS ecosystem. So I think it was totally warranted, all the fanfare.
True that. But you had been reporting a lot on startups, especially the startups in Chennai, right? So, how big do you think this news is for the city?
Well, I think it's huge because the confidence that it gives other companies to dream big and know that with sheer grit, patience, and a great product, you can one day see yourself ringing the opening bell of NASDAQ. I mean, that's inspiring for so many other startups.
Chennai is already the SaaS capital of India, and Freshworks IPO puts not just India but also Chennai in the global map. This will make, we are talking about $1 trillion opportunity in SaaS for the country, and this will actually make that dream an easy access and reduce the timeline to achieve the particular dream. As far as SaaS is concerned, Chennai is like the center of gravity. The city not only generates more than $1 billion in SaaS revenues, but it also employs close to 20,000 people in SaaS across various disciplines and across all the spectrum.
What Girish and Freshworks has done to the entire SaaS ecosystem is unbelievable. They just opened up, like, okay, what can be done? First SaaS-based startup to get listed in NASDAQ, just given confidence for a lot of people like us. it is possible. Like now, there's no reason why Kovai.co could be like a public limited company in like next 8 to 10 years time. That is how we see it.
That was Suresh Sambandam, founder and CEO of Chennai based Kissflow, and yet another startup, Kovai.co's founder Sarvana Kumar, telling us what the mood is like amongst these startup founders right now.
Diya, but if we talk of tech startups, my mind always goes to Bangalore or even Hyderabad for that matter, right? So, where do you think the city missed out? Or is everything coming under the spotlight now with Freshworks IPO?
Frankly, Bhavya, I think however stupid and frivolous this sounds, the weather in Bangalore gives it an unfair advantage. But having said that, let me tell you, home is where the sambar is. And Bangalore sambar pales in comparison to what you get in Chennai. But that's just me. In order to understand what actually went into making Bangalore synonymous with startups, we turn to Ashwin Ramasamy, co founder of Chennai based Pipe Candy.
So I wouldn't say lost out, right? It's not like, we started companies and lost our way. That didn't happen, right? So there were services companies, and services companies started out of Bangalore. And so they had a 10, 12 years head start. Unlike Chennai, on the other hand, was a manufacturing automotive kind of an ecosystem, right? So in that sense, I wouldn't say we lost out. We just started late. That's all it is, right?
While working for this episode, some of the top SaaS based startups we spoke to said that there is a unique, nurturing culture both among employees and startup founders in Chennai, which is very different from that of Bangalore or Hyderabad that works well for the SaaS industry.
In Chennai, there is some sort of culture where everybody looks at long term. You don't see people moving from company A to B to C in a span of 2-3 years and then coming back for promotions, for better offers. That doesn't happen a lot in Chennai. And that culture is a natural fit for SaaS companies. SaaS is all about how do you have a long-term vision. The startup community is very friendly, very matured, and you don't see instances of say one company getting like large funding and they going and hunting smaller startups for talents. That doesn't happen.
That's Prabhu Ramachandran, founder and CEO of Chennai based SaaS company Facilio.
Even Suresh echoed this sentiment when he spoke about Chennai. So, evidently, it isn't just the two of us, Bhavya.
I love Chennai and I love the city and the state simply because I belong to this place and I'm invested into this place and I'm very passionate about growing this place. So it's not such a difficult decision for me. Even if it had been a difficult thing to build a company here, I would probably still gone ahead and did it. But on the other hand, when we started SaaS, Chennai was already the best place to start the SaaS companies because we had the SaaS ecosystem here, right? Because we had the talent more than 10 at that time. There were like 5,000 to 10,000 people who are trained in the SaaS space. So when we have to hire talent, this became the easiest choice for us to hire the talent.
So clearly, Chennai feels like the perfect home for startup founders, right? But despite the challenges that COVID throws up on one hand and a vibrant startup ecosystem that's very attractive in Bangalore, young professionals who are starting their career and experienced ones we spoke to said that they are ready to ditch all that for Chennai and would even consider shifting.
2 or 3 years back, I would have said Bangalore is the only startup hub, and I would still have had a thought about moving to Bangalore. But in recent couple of years, you see a lot of SaaS-based companies from Chennai are getting very good funding, and they are on news, they are going viral on social media, and I think that started attracting a lot of crowd across India, I would say. To be honest, in my team, there are people who are native from Karnataka who are now ready to move from Bangalore to Chennai. I have members from North India, Delhi, Gurgaon, who are ready to relocate to Chennai because I think the company and the brands just sitting at Chennai and the kind of growth that they have showcased is really great, I think.
Some 5-10 years back, Chennai didn't have as many SaaS startups as it has now. And of course, now with Zoho and Freshworks, you don't need, their work culture. Everyone is actually, they're trying their best to reach to Zoho. They have like 3-4 layers of interviews, which is very difficult to break, but still people are trying hard because of, especially for their work culture and the, so yeah, definitely. With these companies, I would really love to move to Chennai.
One of the things I realized is the perks, benefits, and the facilities that we get here is on par with any other startup out there in the country, right? And I would even compare this on par with global companies, like say like perks that are offered at companies like say Google or Microsoft. A lot of that we got here. I got access to a lot of perks, a lot of benefits. In fact, a lot of services companies have adopted some of the things that we practiced at work here.
Via, what do you say? Should we just look at changing our career paths, join the SaaS party?
Count me in. But before we put in our papers, let's see what Harshjeet Sethi, managing director of one of the biggest venture capital firms, Sequoia Capital, has to say about the evolution and transformation in the SaaS space in Chennai. Interestingly, Sequoia was among the initial investors in Freshworks.
There's a movement from generally, as you sort of look to service B2B companies, from India being very services heavy to becoming a product nation, right? I think that's sort of been a big part that organizations like SaaS Boomi or iSpirit or some of the others have played in helping founders think less about solving a challenge of a customer through a service to building product, right? And that seems easy, but actually is a very fundamental shift in how you think and build. And so I'd say that the last few years have just seen that transformation happen, where folks that have been at Zoho and the Freshworks have built many products that have now gotten to large scale. And now, whether it's those companies or several others like Chargebee, etc., that are emerging, you are starting to see them become more visible. Even more recently in the last couple of days, as talking to founders about this event, a lot of founders are talking about how it is pushing them to think longer and harder about where they want to be. So just an increase in confidence of what Indian SaaS companies, as they tackle global markets, can go and achieve. And so I'd say that the activity was always there, the spirit was always high. Now these things have provided more limelight. And so you'll see more and more activity in it.
It just gets more interesting. Harsh also told us that going ahead, we will see a lot more investments in SaaS industries, and reports suggest that Chennai startups have raised a total of $1.6 billion across 199 deals, and this number is only going to grow going ahead.
The multiple that investors are willing to pay for revenue um, on average has increased by over 50%. Because the multiple of revenue has expanded, investors are willing to pay up. We will see a lot more investments in SaaS. I think even prior to the Freshworks IPO, just given that these companies have gotten to a size and scale, and there's just so much activity because every company in some shape or form is becoming a tech company. So the need for software in every enterprise has increased dramatically. We think that there will be many more successes like this, and we are, very keen to continue backing companies in SaaS and likely continue making this one of our areas of highest focus.
Besides the current unicorns like Zoho and Freshworks, we also hear that Chennai could see emergence of 7 more unicorns in the next 5 years, including companies like Unifor, MatchStreetDen, Chargebees, and Crayon Data. Even Hirsch talked about it, right? So how many startups, new and old, are looking to scale up and expand now?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really exciting time for the SaaS space for sure, and we're seeing so much buzz around it, especially post the Freshworks listing. In fact, we caught up with Ashwini Ashokan, the founder and CEO of Madstreet Den, and here's what she had to say.
The IPO itself, I think, has obviously created a wave of startups. We're seeing a lot of companies as people, graduated out of Freshworks, even just before the IPO or just after the IPO. We're seeing like a massive wave of B2B startups coming out of folks that work there. I think that's another pretty big milestone, I would say. It's kind of a pretty big deal, right? And to have a company, literally Freshworks, be the first B2B SaaS company that is listed in the US, I think it's a fairly huge deal, to be very honest with you. And I think gives the rest of us hope in ways that I don't know. I mean, he's a trailblazer, right? I don't think there's any other way to put it. But Girish is a trailblazer, and I think it gives the rest of us incredible amount of hope that there was a first person that actually got there, and I think it's going to open the floodgates for everybody else that's trying to get to similar places.
Okay, it all sounds like everything is headed to become a blockbuster, like a perfect Rajni movie. But a classic Rajni movie will always show some unimaginable challenges ahead and how our superstar solves it, right?
Exactly. And it truly isn't all rainbows and unicorns for the SaaS startups in Chennai, too. And maybe I should pause here for you to appreciate my pun.
Yeah, inserting claps here for you.
Thank you. Some validation. But anyway, moving on. There definitely are challenges, Bhavya. And as Suresh from Kissflow said, the challenges are more to do with the times we live in rather than the city itself.
One of the advantages Chennai had is that Chennai crowd used to be very heads down, focused on work, less distracted, and that is required for a SaaS startup because it takes close to 2 to 3 years for the startup to pick up steam and get to an inflection point, or rather to a point where it starts scaling big. Pre-COVID, it used to be that focus space where you want to build companies that are long-lasting in nature, where people stick on for easily 3 to 5 years, right? One of the side effects of COVID is that the world has become much more flatter than we think, and people are hiring without any geographic boundaries. And that's actually creating a lot of negative churn from when it comes to employee stability, even in the Chennai market. So, what used to be an advantage for Chennai and what made Chennai special and had a secret sauce is being challenged. That's my view in terms of what made Chennai the SaaS capital of India and made Chennai unique. And I don't know how do we retain that uniqueness going forward is a big question mark in front of us.
Yeah, even Ashwini had something similar to add to this, right?
I don't think we had any issues with talent at all. So in terms of scale, we pretty much commanded just about exactly the kind of talent that we were trying to access. The one thing that I would say is I do see that more experienced folks in these spaces are globally situated. And so we do our bit in trying to kind of, convince people who are in the US in the very specific spaces in deep tech to kind of come back to India, come back to Chennai and join us in this endeavor as well. But, I think the challenges are not really to do with talent.
It's true that Bangalore is the startup and tech hub, but I think Chennai is not so far today to reaching there.
I believe Chennai is the source of deep tech talent. Overall, it makes for a fantastic place to start a company, and I don't see any particular issues with scaling. I do think that people constantly talk about how far are you away from the nodes of power, and I think in India that used to be Bangalore, it used to be SF. None of that is true anymore. So I think things are very different today than they were even 3-4 years ago.
So, Bhavya, it's true that Bangalore is the startup and tech hub, but Chennai is really not so far.
Very true. As one of our Talevar Rajnikant's dialogues go, which basically translates to my way is my own. SaaS startups in Chennai are paving their own path. Freshworks may be the first such startup to find itself on NASDAQ, but it definitely won't be the last. Celebrating the successes of these startups is also a celebration of the city that nurtures their growth. And one could say this is only the beginning.
Super Mama, ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's it for today. I'm Bhavya Dilip Kumar.
And I'm Diya Rekhi, and you've been listening to The Morning Brief.
This episode was edited and coordinated by myself and Diya. The episode was produced by Soundarya Jayachandran, and Varun Kapahi was the sound editor. Do write to us at themorningbrief@timesgroup.com. This podcast airs every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thank you. Have a great day ahead. All clips used in this episode belong to their original respective owners. Credits are mentioned in the description.